Pickup on South Street is a film noir from 1953. Richard Widmark plays a professional pickpocket who's always in trouble with the law. His latest job is an unsuspecting subway rider, played by Gene Peters. However, what he doesn't know is that Peters is a member of a communist spy ring in America, and the FBI have been tracking her for months. Widmark steals her wallet, which contains microfilm with important information regarding the spy ring. Not only is it a race between the FBI and communists to get it back, but Widmark also toys around with the idea of using the microfilm as leverage to get things he wants. The film was written and directed by Samuel Fuller, one of the best writer-directors of all time. He always had a talent for telling hard-boiled stories about 2-bit characters, and this is one of his best. Fuller's Underworld is a fascinating place. Rather than having it as a pure cesspool of depravity, he presents it as its own society, running adjacent to our own. Criminal activity isn't seen as a negative thing here. It's seen as the only way to make a living. People have conversations about petty crime the same way others talk about a new stapler at the office. It's not that these people enjoy it, it's that it's the only life they know. Most of them want to get out of their rackets, but just don't know how to. Overall, the film is just beautifully shot. From its lighting to its camera moves, I can't get enough of it. A lot of the film is actually shot in close-up, which was a rarity from Fuller. His extensive use of them makes the story feel more personal. For minor characters, it feels like you're getting a seldom-seen glimpse into their head. These shots also allow for Fuller to get more creative with the shot design. When I think about this movie, I always think about this frame with Widmark and Peters. It's strikingly haunting and gives you an uncomfortable sense of claustrophobia. It's further complemented by the next shot, which is a push-in. Actually, now that I think about it, there's a lot of memorable moving camera shots in this. They're not as abundant as the close-ups, but when they're used, they add multitudes to the scene. With this being a noir, it makes extensive use of shadows. They really help to enhance the underworld setting and just look beautiful in every frame they're in. Fuller was also a master wordsmith, and this film has some of his most memorable lines. There are lots of scenes where characters exchange razor-sharp dialogue at a brisk pace, but even the slower, more melancholy lines stand out. Yeah, Fuller's trademarks are often so strong in his films that people often overlook the more somber moments. To be fair, there's only a few of them in this, and I can't delve into exactly what they are without spoiling the whole thing, but these parts have always resonated with me since my first viewing. I think they help give the film its pathos, and they deserve just as much praise as the grittier exchanges. But my favorite part of every Fuller film is the characters, and this has a stellar cast bringing them to life. Richard Widmark is one of my favorite actors of all time, and I constantly go back and forth on whether or not I prefer him as a hero or as a villain. Here, he's an anti-hero, so you get the best of both worlds. His performance as Skip McCoy is one of the best anti-heroes in noir history. What makes him so great is his perspective on life. He's just a small-time crook who always has to figure out his next score, and that's what the microfilm is to him, his next meal ticket. He doesn't care who wins the Cold War. He cares about which side will make him the highest bid. On paper, it makes him a very unlikable character, but his reasoning paired with Widmark's delivery kinda makes you side with him. After all, in his eyes, neither communism or the American justice system have done him any favors, so why would he help them? What's also great is how clever he is. Both the communist and the police underestimate his intelligence. Every time Widmark seems cornered, he gets himself out of it and always wears a smile. Not only that, but Fuller's dialogue rolls off his tongue with ease. One of my favorite scenes is when he's being interrogated by the police. Every quip is delivered so well that you can't help but enjoy it. Makes me wish him and Fuller did more movies together. Well, they made one more, but it's probably never gonna get reviewed by me, if you catch my drift. Gene Peters is also a treat as the tough-talking ex-prostitute, Candy. She brings a ferociousness to the role that makes her enigmatic to watch. You get a sense of the hard life she's lived solely based off her voice. She practically snarls every time she speaks to an unsavory character because it reminds her of her old life. Peters also transforms her usual body language from smooth and debonair to brash and abrasive. There are times where these actions elevate what should be uninteresting scenes. My favorite example of this is when she's trying to get information from a crook at a Chinese restaurant. He keeps asking for more cash and only gives her the tiniest bit of details. Every time she pays him, she throws wadded bills on the table. It's a small but effective way to show off her personality. Richard Kiley is one of the communists in this and is actually threatening. I know, say that out loud to yourself. Richard Kiley is threatening. It doesn't feel right. Usually he's a goody two-shoes or the hero. I think that preconceived image of him is why I find Kiley so effective. There are times where he doesn't even need to talk, just stare. That alone is enough to show you how much of a despicable spy he is. But the best character/performance in the whole film is Thelma Ritter as Mo. She's an old-time grifter who's at the point in her life where all her money is just going to a nice funeral for herself. Eddie Muller cited her as one of Fuller's best characters, and after seeing almost all of his films, I couldn't agree more. At a glance, she seems like a soft-spoken old lady who's barely scraping by, but after you fall for that, she becomes a smooth talker who will convince you to shell out any amount of money. At times, she can be more conniving than Widmark. She's the only one who has any sense of reason. Ritter perfectly conveys the exhaustion of the fast-paced hoodlum lifestyle. Every other scene, it feels like she's just trying to catch her breath. Although she's still in peak performance, there's no doubt she just wants to lay down and leave this life behind. She's also great at reciting Fuller's dialogue. She makes it sound so natural and like she's been talking this way her entire life. It feels like she was meant to play a part like this, and I wish she was given another character that was similar. Probably the highlight of the movie for me is the scene where she and Richard Kiley talk. I don't want to go too much into detail because spoilers, but this is easily the best piece of acting I've ever seen Ritter do. Her calm demeanor is so disarming, and she brings so much power to the scene while lying down. Yeah, she lays down for this. There aren't too many actors that could create something this emotionally stirring while only moving their head. I love this part every time I see it, and it's easily one of the best scenes Samuel Fuller ever created. Thelma Ritter was born February 14th, 1902 in New York City. She started acting when she was 11 years old, and made her debut on stage as Puck in a semi-professional run of A Midsummer Night's Dream. She continued to act throughout her teens and early 20s, but when it was clear she wasn't going to be able to make a career out of it, she decided to stop and raise her children. After her kids grew up, she decided to take another stab at acting and made her film debut in Miracle on 34th Street. She had an uncredited role as a shopper, but left a memorable imprint on screen. So much so that Joseph L. Mankiewicz decided to give her a role in his next two films, A Letter to Three Wives and All About Eve. She garnered an Oscar nomination for Best Supporting Actress in All About Eve, and from there, she started getting steady work and great supporting roles for both TV and movies. Ritter would go on to become the most nominated performer in the Supporting Actress category at the Academy Awards. 6 nominations in total for All About Eve, The Mating Season, which I reviewed last year, With a Song in My Heart, Pillow Talk, The Birdman of Alcatraz, and Pick Up on South Street, all of which are well deserved. Somehow, she was never nominated for her signature role in Rear Window. Many people often misremember her being nominated for it, but she never was. For Pick Up on South Street, she lost to Donna Reed for From Here to Eternity. She passed away from a heart attack on February 5th, 1969. She was 66 years old. Ritter was a talent discovered too late, but her impact on screen is indelible. It seems like more and more people are discovering her work each year, and I hope that trend continues. So if you want to discover another great performance from one of the most talented actresses of her generation, or see one of the best underworld noirs ever made, then I highly recommend Pick Up on South Street.